Products, of course, are tangible, they're real, they're not fictional. But people don't buy products, people buy brands. And people have a mental picture of what that brand stands for in their heads, and it's that mental picture that influences their decision making. And actually the brands we buy typically are the brands we always buy, or else they're the brand that immediately springs to mind when we think about that category or a decision we have to make in that category. So springing to mind is an important concept for brands. It's that mental picture that comes to mind when you think about a brand that we talk about as salience and the mental availability. And this is a really important concept because it's not just the clarity of that mental association and the feelings that we associate with the brand, but it's also how readily it comes to mind. And a lot of the work that we do is working with companies and with brands to try to create a very compelling mental picture of the brand, but more importantly to make sure it's encoded, and it's encoded well in our memory so that it springs to mind when we think about that product or that category where we're going to make a decision. What we find is that brands that have a really clear sense of their purpose and a promise that is a customer-centric promise are much better at creating a very clear mental picture for people. So purpose is important. If you think about when you meet a friend or a new acquaintance, like what are the conversations that you have? What are they about? So they're, what people care about, what their point of view is, what they like, what they dislike. And from that, in a way, you can predict how they're likely to behave and what kind of a friend they might be. And it's the same thing with brands. So clarity of purpose is one of the things that we look for when we're helping a brand to establish that crystal clear mental picture that people have and to make it top of mind for them. But there are other things that we get out of conversations with people. We understand if they align with our beliefs and our values. So a fit with our lives is something that we look for when we look at whether a brand is resonating with people and creating a picture in their minds that will be stored in that emotional memory that I talked about earlier. We look at energy. People like to do what other people are doing. Everybody wants to back a winner. So fit, energy and clarity are levers that companies can dial up to increase the intensity and the clarity of their mental picture. So to have a clear sense of purpose, to have a good sense of fit, energy and clarity of purpose and the promise that the brand makes are the ultimate goals for any brand, so that it will spring to mind first when people are making decisions in that category.